The SCCA is an organization based in the United States, so in the real world, you can most commonly expect to find the Spec racer Ford at North American racing circuits. But race fans who long for the chance to see this diminutive car zip around classic tracks such as Spa-Francorchamps need dream no more. Thanks to the wonders of the virtual world, today we'll see just such a race here in the Ardennes. The gloves are on and the visors are down as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Weekend Warriors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Bill Soup Zahn. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Bill, I've pretty much set up camp out here in the hills at this point, with this being my fourth race of the weekend at this track. But for the fans that haven't been in the same boat as me, why don't you introduce them to Spa?
Well, if you're going to be in one place for a long time, why not at one of the most beautiful circuits in the world? And of course, we're talking about Spa. It's also one of the most challenging racetracks in the world, mainly due to the fast, hilly, twisty nature. Now, like Joe said, this is the fourth time GSRC has broadcast from Spa this weekend, and I'm sure you've been here for all of them. But even though the track stats haven't changed from event to event, 7 kilometers, about 4.3 miles, 21 turns, it's going to seem a lot bigger in today's underpower SRF's machines than in the high-performance machines that we've shown you earlier this weekend. This is going to be a draft race. Fast drivers will hope to thin the herd, but that's going to be wishful thinking, because even through the technical sections that we'll show you here in a second on the video lap, breaking the draft is going to be difficult. I won't get into the history of this place other than simply to say it used to be about twice as long and exponentially more scary. But if a picture's worth 1,000 words, imagine what a video would be worth. Let's go ahead and take a lap around Spa.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Spa. Coming across the start-finish line, you want to keep the car as far left as you can go and then hit the binders once you spot your brake marker. The most important thing about the infamous La Source hairpin is nailing that exit. The outside is paved, so you get a 1x at worst if you get on the power early. But come out of there with no speed or get on the power late, and your lap time will really suffer. Now, we plunge down the hill towards Eau Rouge. In the small underpowered Spec racer, this will easily be flat out, but that doesn't take away how critical it is to get the line right through here. Just like La Source, navigating it properly will set you up with momentum on the long climb up the Kemmel Straight. And now that you've reached it, take a breather, sip your drink if you need, check your mirrors. You've got a lot of time to ponder what you did wrong and what you did right. The one thing that will keep you from totally relaxing is the draft, which will keep cars close all race long. And as we hit the braking zone for Lacombe, anyone who isn't fully past you will be looking to beat you to the first apex. Thankfully, since this is basically a large chicane, defending from the outside can be done. From there, it's just a matter of lining your car up for Malmedy and just giving a little lift to get the car through the corner. We're now at the highest point of the track, and it's all going to be literally downhill from here. Rivage is another spot where sneaky passes may happen, but the lift throttle oversteer of the SRF makes this a 180-degree right-hander, one that requires balancing the car with the gas. After that, it's a short sprint to the next left-hander, which is one more small lift, and then get your foot back to the floor. I always love this part of the track because if you look across over the trees, you can see the rest of the circuit in the valley below you. But there's no time for sightseeing because you've got to get your turn in perfect for Pouhon or suffer the consequences. This double apexer catches out even the best drivers from time to time with its difficulty. It's quick, it's downhill, and it's dangerous. If you got it right, you got to send the car to the left to set up for Fagnes. Just like Lacombe, this is something of a large, quick chicane. A clever driver with a good run can occasionally pull off a pass into this S-bend. Once more, there's no time to relax because the line from Fagnes takes us directly into Stavelot. It's important to get the first part of the corner right because once again, you shouldn't lift for a long time afterwards. The second part of the corner can be tricky, but if you hit the line right, it's flat out. Now, because this part is so fast, we find ourselves with another section where draft battles start to erupt. But instead of a heavy braking zone, it leads into the fearsome Blanchimont. In a faster car, you'd ease off the gas, but with a Spec racer, the right line will be flat-footed. Despite not having to lift, it's still single file, so getting side by side will cost both drivers time. Honestly, the wiser move may be to sit behind the car in front and then set yourself up for a pass into the bus stop. Get the car to the left, throw out the anchor, and slam it down through the gearbox. Watch out for these large red sausage curves at both apexes though. They'll knock the car all out of sorts, and traction will be very important out of this chicane. Hopefully, you got it right so that your opponent can't have a go at you into La Source. But regardless, as you approach the line, you finish the lap around Spa.
There you can see, compared to the Lotus 49, the Formula Renault, and the Camel GT cars, it's a bit of a long lap around here, nearly 3 minutes in the Spec Racer Ford. But that leaves us not much time to go over the points, which are finally at an end, because this is the last round of the season, Bill.
Yeah, you know, we tried to keep it fresh, and we've been here at Spa 4 times in a row. We tried to give you 4 different track descriptions. I could really cut and paste this next part, because there he is, Errol Num. I just did the same story back in the MX5 World Tour, and then just last week in the Absolute Beginner, the Formula Eagle, Errol Num wins. What happened here? He came in after missing the first 4 races, but there are 4 drop races. You see him up there in those 4 droplets. He got 0 in race 1, 0 in race 2, 3 and 4, all zeros. Came back in, dominated, caught up. Not only did he catch up, he's clinched it ahead of Jerry McAreevy, who sits in second. David Gaspers, your early leader, fell off. Still has a chance to get to McAreevy, but no chance to get to Errol Num. Daniel Sadrill has been climbing up, the United States driver. Looked like he's safely in fourth. And how about this? Making the overlay for the first time, series organizer Stevie Ray. Welcome to the top 5 overlay there, Stevie. So we're going to enjoy the racing, but the championship is locked up, Joe.
I think you might have to change his nickname to the Steamrolling Estonian.
Yeah.
The way that he just takes over every championship he joins in. Now, let's go over the event details in case someone hasn't watched the Weekend Warriors before. We are in Season 6, and as we mentioned, last round of the season, 12 weeks that they run, just like the official series. The car, of course, is the Spec Racer Ford that we're out here in. Now, even though these setups are open, they have limited the fuel in these cars. Now, typically, these cars don't see pit stops, but because the size of the fuel tank is smaller than what the real one has, the race distance being 40 minutes means you can expect a single pit stop, and that is going to be very important in these cars because it takes a little bit to get the fuel in there. Now, the incident cap, well, there is none. Very important at this track since it is very easy to get off tracks. They do have one free car sitting in waiting if they get damage, and they're definitely going to want to need that because, Bill, with this car not being very powerful and with this having a lot of long straightaways, I have a feeling that aerodynamics are going to make a big difference in this race.
Yeah, if you time the damage right and happen to get it before you have to make your pit stop, it's going to come out okay. If you happen to get late damage after you've made the stop, well, you're going to have to deal with it. You do not want to lose straight line speed here. Some great passing zones. I hate chicanes. I hate them. But I'm telling you, one of the best chicanes in racing is the bus stop here, corner 17 and 18. Makes for a great, exciting finish. But let's talk about the finish, Joe. Whenever you're at Spa, first thing I ask is, where's the finish line? Where's the start? I guess today we are on the other side of La Source. That means that out of the bus stop, instead of having a drag race to the finish line, you're actually going to be able to race down into the hairpin, come around, and then have a drag race out of La Source for the win.
Exactly. So almost getting 2 chances for a pass there at the end of the lap, since La Source is another place where you've got an opportunity. In fact, we saw some great battles in the same layout for the Lotus 49. Which runs the classic pits layout. And as Eero comes around, we are in qualifying. Now, right now, Eero actually is beat by David Gaspers on qualifying time, and by a significant margin, 0.4 of a second. Let's see as he comes by if he can improve. He's only had 1 timed lap. His second one had an off. So by the classic pits he goes, and across the start-finish line. This one is not faster, so Still's going to stay in second. He gets a few more tries. They made it a nice long qualifying session because of the long laps around here, Bill.
You know, Joe, another thing I think we should talk about with pit stops is, and I'll let you do this one, is with the start-finish line moving around, sometimes pit entry actually changes too. What are we looking at today?
Well, thankfully, because it is the classic pits, they don't have the super long pit lane of the endurance layout. Yes, they've got cones down in front of the pit entry outside of the bus stop. So you'll come around La Source, and then you'll duck in right there and come back out around Eau Rouge as we watch David Gaspers, who is our current pole sitter, come to finish his lap. He's actually got Jason Perry, who's sitting in third, not far behind him. He could have been catching a draft. Right now, he's towing Adam Bradshaw along behind him. So Perry, the best position in the near future here to try and overtake Gaspers on pole. That's if Gaspers doesn't improve his time as well. That 250.7 looking pretty handy at the moment. Out of Lasource, plunging down the hill, and Gaspers not going to complete this lap. He comes in. So does Jason Perry. Bradshaw continues on. He's sitting in 12th on the timing sheets. And does he improve? No, he does not.
David Gaspers, the early point leader. He was in a battle with Demetrius Houdoulis, who we also, both those drivers were doing double duty racing over in the Lotus 49 series as well. Summer vacation got to Grease Lightning, and Houdoulis had to bow out. Gaspers, though, has been around, bowed out of the Lotus 49, but has been strong here. There's Errol Num.
Looks like we got a team of cars working together. Ross Nicholson, Paul Godin, and Wayne Palmer all in a line together. They're coming across to finish their latest lap, and I'm seeing if this drafting, well, no, it doesn't work if you have an off track, which Nicholson did. Looks like Wayne Palmer also didn't get that one to count. And Paul Godin, the only one of those trio able to put in a time, but again, not fast enough to improve his position. So whatever they're doing, it's clever, but not working.
A lot of people are not a fan of open qualifying because they don't think it's fair because you can get a draft. I'm a fan of, I believe that fairness is overrated. I like the competitiveness, the shaking things up a bit that you get with open qualifying.
No, I mean, it's just like the race in that you have to think strategically. And, well, if you have a teammate, it helps even better. Even in the real world, multi-car teams tend to collect more data, have someone to watch your back, tend to do a little bit better as Iro Nam comes around to try and see if he can get that pole away. And even though he improves, it is still not enough. He chops about 3 1/1000ths off of his time. He's got to do a lot better than that.
Errol Num, one of the smartest drivers when it comes to fuel strategy. And actually, David Gaspers in an interview earlier this season was complaining that, oh, Num makes it a fuel race all the time because he won't let Gasper race because he's always thinking about saving fuel, and it frustrates Gaspers, who would like to just go out there and run.
Noam is the Prost of iRacing, I think. Just the thinker's driver, not just fast, but out there and figuring out the best way to win, not just the fastest way to win.
Yeah, Num is like the pretty girl that can also sing. I mean, he's fast and smart. That's a tough combination.
But can he dance? Is he a triple threat?
I don't know about that.
We'll have to ask him later as we watch Adam Bradshaw sitting in the 13th spot at the moment, coming around Lasource. He's got Bob Kern just behind him. Kern appropriately spaced apart from Bradshaw. That's a typography joke I think very few people will get, unfortunately. As Bradshaw improves 252.4, that moves him up to 11th.
Always a good sign. You can judge the health of a series, how big the fields are at the end of the season. We got a nice, healthy field. 21 drivers putting in qualifying times, 24 on the entry list. That's good to see.
Absolutely. All right, Gaspers and Perry are coming around now. They're coming up to Lasource. Let's see what they can do this time by. Perry, again, sitting in the 3rd position, giving a tow to Gaspers, which him being on the pole seems like Perry should be the one getting a little bit of help there. And this might actually be an outlap because I remember they both ducked in. No, well, yes, it is an outlap, but it's still counted, just isn't really worth much being a 3:08.
To be honest with you, while qualifying is always important, at this particular track, excuse me if I don't get all that excited about who sits on the pole, because I don't think anybody is going anywhere.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, you know, as much weight as we're giving this, it's all going to shuffle around by the end of the first lap. Chris Murakami, who we were watching, is sitting in 6th, having that rising sun looking flag on his car. Fred Desai crosses the line and stays in 17th. The Frenchman is going to have to go around one more time, and he's only going to get one more time because you look at the clock, we are well within the point where anybody who's crossed within the last 2 minutes basically is not going to be able to get another lap in.
couple names that are new to me, and I've been following this. The driver in that is one of them right there I wanted to talk about. Driver in 6, Chris Murakami. He's been coming on of late. And the driver right above him in the standings, Zachary Rivard, also in 5th position. He's got his lap in. He's not going to be out there, but a couple guys to watch out. In fact, they sit ahead of Jerry McAreevy, who's 2nd in points. So always good to see some new blood get in at the end of the season.
Indeed. This is the nice thing about this type of racing, virtual racing online. It allows people to get in just about whenever they please. You don't have to worry about gathering $1 million team together and join in for an entire season with sponsorship. Meanwhile, the time is now up on qualifying, so anybody who crosses the line is done. Let's watch Bob Kern, who's actually just getting ready to finish his lap. He'll be the first one across the line to be fully over with this Q session. He sits in 20th at the moment with a 2:53.6. Is this one going to be better? It'll be only his 4th time. It is better, and that bumps him up to 17th. A nice job there at the end. Next one across going to be Daniel Sadro and Philippe Chauvin. Midwest driver leading the Frenchman around La Source. Sadro sitting within the top 10 at the moment. And Chauvin is just ahead of him in time, but he's not going to take this lap. He abandons it. Daniel, as he crosses the line, 2:51.6 is going to bump him ahead of both Chauvin and McAreevy. He'll start from 7th. Jason Perry and David Gaspers just get across. And I think neither of them... Oh, no, David Gaspers was faster. He improves to a 2:50.2. Woo, Bill.
Wow.
Nearly a second faster than Iro Nom. How many times can we say that?
Well, maybe somebody can get away from somebody here if he gets a little bit of an opportunity.
That's going to be it. Everybody is done with qualifying. So with that, our grid is filled out. Let's go through our starting order. David Gaspers, as we mentioned, on the pole. He was helped out by a draft, we should point out, during that lap. So that contributed somewhat, but even still, a second gap is huge to his front row partner, Iro Nam, who starts in 2nd. Jason Perry will be in 3rd, and then row 2, he's flanked by Alan Chapman starting in 4th. Zachary Rivard will be P5 with Chris Murakami starting 6th. Daniel Sadro, last lap got him up to 7th, ahead of Jerry McAreevy starting in 8th. Philippe Chauvin will be P9, and then rounding out our top 10, Bill, is going to be Ross Nichols.
Hailing out of Italy, it's Francisco Bernardo. He's going to be inside of Steven Elson. Watch out for Elson. He's faster than that qualifying would represent. In the Baker Sutton spot, Adam Broadshaw inside of series organizer Stevie Ray. Edward Doherty sits in 15th. All ribbons and curls in the sweet 16th spot. It's Wayne Palmer. 17th goes to Bob Kern. Inside of the French driver, Fred Desai. Paul Gooden is in 19th, 20th, hailing out of Portugal. Little Willie, Guillermo Cravo. And I'll just wrap out these last 4 here. Jeff Canner, Brad Taylor, Telmo Amaral in the 23rd spot. Edgar Sanchinelli in the double dozen position back there at the back of the field. 24 drivers.
Decently sized field, and as we said, if you think that it is small and if you think you're up for a boring race because these aren't as fast of cars as we've seen before, well, stick around because the drafting out there is going to make it a wild one for sure. Probably will not know who the winner will be right down until the checkered flag. Taking a look at the weather, decent conditions though, Bill. We've seen a lot hotter with some of the other series. 92 degree track temperature, I would assume, means relatively grippy for these guys.
Oh, everybody who lives in Belgium wishes that their real world weather would be the same as what iRacing gives us. It never rains here in the iRacing universe. Yeah, should be 92 track temperature Fahrenheit. Shouldn't be too slippery for these cars. I think we'll be okay. I think we're in good position here. We're looking for a good one.
The bigger thing that concerns me, Bill, really is one of the notorious aspects of the handling of this car. This track, known for long, fast, sweeping corners, And this is a car which doesn't like you to be off the throttle when you're trying to turn it.
Well, it depends how much you want to turn the car when you're off the throttle, I think. What happens on this car, if you're not familiar with it, when you come off the throttle, the weight shifts to the front and the front tires bite and the back end gets really light. You can just imagine that. And it has a tendency to come around. One of the things that I had to learn, and it goes against all instincts of me, is when the rear end starts to come around, the way you save it is actually to apply more gas and try to get the weight back there. You can turn the car as much with your right foot as you can with the steering wheel, or even with the braking as well.
So that can make some for exciting moments, as you will see some drivers, of course, sliding these cars around despite the grippy conditions, trying to rotate the rear on corner entry and whatnot, as we see the cars now gridding up just outside of Blanchimont. Of course, just like the real SRFs, they do a rolling start here in the Weekend Warriors. Even though they aren't racing a track that the real cars race, they do try to make it quite a bit like the real cars do in the SCCA. Glad to see this car still has a good following. I know some people don't like how it drives, Bill, but as soon as I got into it, I fell in love with driving this car.
Oh, if you don't like this car, this one, yeah, it doesn't have the horsepower, and it doesn't go, and maybe it doesn't have the vrooms in your ears. But boy, it's a blast to race. This one and the Skippy are still fun. I wish the Solstice would get more love. It's one of the old timers around. Hey, you know, week 13's coming up. iRacing going to bring that Solstice out, shine it up, and put it on display here for a week, huh?
Absolutely. And speaking of week 13, we got some special events happening here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Yes, we do. We have the Road America 500 with the Camel GT guys coming up on the weekend. We've got the Absolute Beginners have their Race of Champions coming up this week. All kinds of fun stuff. The Gathering of Tweakers are coming back, Bill, and they're coming back, I believe, if I understand correctly. Oh, wait, no, it's the Absolute Beginner guys who have the Rallycross car. Sorry, I got that confused. But yeah, it's going to be a full weekend and a fun weekend.
It's funny, just like iRacing, GSRC, when it gets to week 13s, we have just as much fun. Things are different. Hey, thanks goodness. Tip of the hat to iRacing for not making us go all the way around this track like they do at Road America.
Yeah, I hope iRacing will eventually shorten the lap around Road America. Maybe start them on the Kettle Bottoms down into Canada corner. That seems like a good place to be. All right, so pace car, because it is the classic pits, is going to lead them around La Source. And you can see the pace car a little bit faster around the bus stop compared to these guys. They got to play catch up here up to the roof pace car without trying to stack the field up into the hairpin. You don't want to have a problem here before the green flag even flies. You see they're taking a nice, easy pace to get back to the gearbox of that Porsche wannabe, I guess we could call it. So out of La Source now, waiting for the pace car to peel off. Green flag flies as soon as that pace car is gone. David Gaspers gets on the loud pedal, and it's a battle for second as Aeronam is being challenged by Jason Perry. Too wide up into Eau Rouge. A little bit easier in this lesser powered car, but still scary nonetheless. And now the drafting begins, Bill.
Oh, really, really close back there with Alan Chapman. As they now honestly, a little bit of bump drafting. I don't know how well that works in these cars, but as they try to get, how about a 3-bump train there? Part of it.
I was going to say that third car in the line, Zachary Rivard, really needed to back out of it because he didn't want to shove our leader around, crunching them together as they break now for Lacombe. It looks like, yeah, wow, very, very polite start by everyone. Nicely done by the drivers.
Oh. But up in front, we had a little bit of an issue.
Oh, it was Malmedy instead of Lacombe that caused problems. Looks like I see Philippe Chauvin in trouble. Francesco Bernardo, part of that. We'll get back to the replay in a little bit.
Ross Nicholson as well involved in it. That was a big one.
Spoke too soon. Usually it's Lacombe's that causes problems, not 3 corners into that little chicane sequence. So as they come around Pouhon, Jason Perry now in second position as Aeronam gets demoted down to third. And they've got quite a bit of a gap to Alan Chapman, who's going to want to hustle to try and stay in the slipstream of these top 3.
Yeah, and then from Chapman to Chris Murakami, who we praised in the pre-race here, he's having a hard time too. He's going to lose touch. We're real close to having a 3-car train instead of what I expect to be a multi-car train.
Well, I'm sure the leaders will be happy that it'll be a small field up at the front. It'll make it a little bit easier for them to sort things out and plan out their strategy, particularly Ironam, as Bill mentioned, notorious for using strategy and really working his brain on the fly to take the wins. Right now, Jason Perry going to overtake David Gaspers. Just slips easily around him before Blanchimont and then flat out through this left-hander.
These are 3 veterans, Perry, Gaspers, and Num, and they know what the rules are right now. The rules are let's pass each other but not slow each other down, and we can make this a 3-car battle. The last thing they want is to get 7 or 8 cars back in the mist. With that said, here comes Chapman. He's got a chance to get back in there.
And you saw on screen that Spider-Man just let Gaspers right back through. Chapman is indeed catching them, trying to make it this 4-car train. I think he should get a whiff of it up the Kemmel Straight. Murakami, though, is way too far back. He's going to start having to work with Jerry McAreevy behind him, maybe to try and leapfrog. Bit of a change position behind them. Daniel Sadro side by side with Steven Elson as they plunge down the hill towards Eau Rouge. Once this sorts itself out at the end of the Kemmel Straight, we'll go to that replay of what happened on lap 1. Looks like Elson's going to come out in front of Sadro, and now Sadro has to worry about Doherty just behind him, getting that slipstream, and now Wayne Palmer with a fantastic run, gaining hand over fist on these 3. You saw Murakami in that shot duck out behind McAreevy, but get back in line. In fact, all 4 cars that we were watching, Elson, Sadro, Doherty, and Palmer, stay in line themselves. Let's go to the replay, see what happened in Malmedy. I think Nicholson is who we're going to look at first.
Yeah, Nicholson gets together. He's in the car on the outside with Alan Chapman, and that turns him around. Then everybody starts to bail in from there. You can see the candy, the mint-colored car that's Murakami makes a evasive action to the outside.
Yeah, here we go. We've got the replay of the incident now. And unfortunately, he came right back across the track. There were a lot of cars that got incredibly lucky that just narrowly avoided him. And then it was the machine of Francesco Bernardo who really plowed into him. Watch on board the Italian.
Well, you can see that. Look at that as they all scramble. That was right back mid-pack.
Just occurred to me, is that a Saint Bernard on Bernardo's hood that he's painted?
There you go. There you go.
Let's take a look. Let's take a close look here live. Or I think that's we're on the replay here.
Looks like it. I don't know.
Yeah, that looks like a Saint Bernard to me. That's I love when drivers get a little cute with their paint schemes. Meanwhile, let's come back live and go to our leaders who are continuing to swap positions, although we want to stress this is not the most exciting part for now, as this is all strategic.
Yeah, you would think up front would be, oh boy, let's say, oh no, they're passing for the lead. They're dancing for the lead right now. They know they got a pit stop and a long way to go. But what is interesting is the gap between Num and Chapman. He trying with all his might to get up there. I think he's there now.
Yeah, he's just kind of barely hanging on. And it could be that he's happy staying back this little bit in case something happens to these 3, but you just don't want to drop off too much as we ride on board with Nom coming up through Eau Rouge. Iro just set the fastest lap of the race. It can be a little bit meaningless here at the start with the slipstreaming. Let's jump a little bit farther back in the pack as these 3 continue their polite little action. Bob Kern as well in a fight with Desai, Zach Rivard, and Paul Godin. This is back in 11th position.
And then that car on the inside, that's Paul Godin. He gets 1, he gets 2, he gets 3. My goodness, Rivard almost went off into the grass. This is a totally different dynamic than what's going on in front. These guys are fighting tooth and nail here
It
to get
amazes,
this one.
it amazes me how powerful the slipstream is in these cars, Bill. I didn't think you could get 3 cars in one straight like that.
There's really, really good fun racing here going on from these guys. They've got a little bit. Stevie Ray's back in 15th. They got a ways to get up here.
Down the hill they go out of No Name. These cars, you actually might have a chance to look across the valley. The view that they get, you can actually see all the way to the pit complex out of No Name. I actually honestly only noticed it, Bill, when I make these lap guides. At one point I looked up off in the distance. I went, huh, it is really pretty. Usually I'm so focused on not losing it through poo-on if I'm in a car.
Yes. You don't actually get a chance to take a little friendly drive around. Let's go back to 17th. Our director wants to look at Jeff Canner. And this is Francisco Bernardo trying to recover from his early incident.
Yeah, down a little bit farther in the pack. Bernardo, of course, with quite a bit of damage on that car. It's going to be a struggle for him to move his way forward. Now, how long can they go on fuel typically, Bill? Is it about halfway that we see most guys go?
I think it's about 2/3 is what we're going to see most of the people do on this one. They can try to run it long. You'll see a pit stops most of the way, no farther than 3/4 of the way through. So and by the way, let's go ahead and talk about Alan Chapman. Sure enough, he was able to actually get there now. So it's 4 cars up front.
All right, and that makes it a very distinct split now from the top 4 to the next 3, which would be McAreevy, Murakami, and Doherty. Actually 4, I should say.
I like that camera that we just had where you see the cars coming at you out of the bus stop, and then Dougie Beard has it where we stay with that camera all the way through La Source, and then as they head down to Eau Rouge.
Down into Eau Rouge. Speaking of which, odd to see Chapman was not staying in line with the rest of them. He was off to the left side of the track. Usually you want to stay to the right. Doherty, meanwhile, sets the fastest lap back there in the second group now. Taking a look at them. They've got a bit of action going on.
Car on the inside getting past. That's Murakami. Leading the field, that's Doherty with Sadro.
Just ducks it right back into line before he's overtaken by Elson. Whoa, Elson with a moment! Off track in Lacombe. And that is a critical mistake. That means that he is going to lose a lot of positions, and ahead of him a separate incident with Fred Desai. We'll want to stay on that replay. I think that was contact for Desai. This was not just, that looked like the bit of that lift throttle oversteer we were talking about.
Yeah, and the Desai, the car just gets no contact. The car just gets loose.
Yeah, we saw it.
Loses it well.
Great job there from our director. Saw it just on board from the incident with Elson.
There we are one more time with the black and yellow car of Desai, the French driver. I'm telling you, Elson, I am a huge Elson fan, but Steven just is he's a package of disappointment wrapped in potential. It's just every race he seems to be his own worst enemy. Right now he's down to 12th position.
Well, that's why the fast drivers are up at the front all the way to the finish. It's a lack of mistakes that brings you the wins. That's what we tend to see from guys like David Gaspers. And once again, Chapman just doesn't seem interested in getting in the slipstream.
That's an interesting racing line that Alan is using.
Now, from what I'm seeing, Chapman seems to be a teammate of Gnome. Both of them are Bushfink drivers. Is there some chicanery going on there, maybe?
Well, actually, we have seen Chapman give up a win earlier in the season to sacrifice, so that Num, who's in the championship hunt, would actually get the win. So there are very much team orders between the two. I don't know of any team orders that say run out in the grass, but Chapman using some interesting racing line there.
Well, now he's staying behind him. It only seems to be on the long straights that we see him duck out. So maybe I'm not sure. I'd like to ask them what the reasoning is for doing this. Let's see if he does it, because this is where I first noticed it on the downhill to Eau Rouge. This time he's staying in line.
If I didn't know better, I'd say he had water temperature problems, but that's not the case. Maybe he just wants to be safe. Right. Maybe he just wants to be safe and take a line where he's guaranteed not to run over his partner. Right now, he's right behind him, though. Up front, we have a pass for the lead or dance as they continue to waltz. Perry out in front of Gaspers.
Here's a thought, Bill. What if, since Noam has clinched the championship, maybe he's repaying the favor to Chapman, and Chapman is saving fuel behind him?
Okay, I like that one. Let's go with that.
A possibility. I mean, there's spaghetti on the wall right now. We'll see if it stays up.
I hate to take you away from this, but honestly, it's not as exciting as it appears, fan. I don't expect anything really drastic to happen there. I do think, though, if we go back to 6, this one is way more intense between Murakami, Doherty, and Sadro. These guys are they're having more fun.
Well, I mean, no championship on the line anymore, so these guys basically free to duke it out as they please. They come down to Puan one more time. That's Murakami, you see in the red and white machine up at the front. Doherty, Doherty might not be the car behind for long. In fact, he goes way off, but a beautiful save as that car wobbled around. Let's get an onboard of that.
He was saving that one for a while. Left, right, left, right, left. That is called sawing on the wheel, and then he gets it going.
See, gets it back to the track. Grateful for that paved runoff. I know some drivers don't necessarily always like that modern safety measure, but I think Doherty is a fan for now.
Oh yeah, he was in the tires if not for that. Well, with that cooling down a bit, how about we go back to 9th? This is a fun one too. Palmer, Kern, and Rivard.
These three have been going at it for a while. Kern's going to have a run on Palmer. I think Palmer's going to let him have that one as they come up to Blanchimont. Meanwhile, Rivard, the one in back, just waiting in the popcorn position. Is he going to give a go? No, he's going to give it a little bit of a bump draft.
Down to the bus stop. Really nowhere to go through the bus stop here.
One of the interesting things to watch, if you ever watch the real world races with these cars, Bill, they do get these drafts, these draft trains going. You'll see a lot of hand signals between drivers. They actually try and communicate with one another to work together like this at times.
Somebody gave me a video of a sports car race that I saw the other day where the driver actually put his hand out the window and adjusted the mirror on the... Oh, we're going to have a pit stop here.
Hey.
Next to him. Wayne Palmer going to come in.
Playing the strategy game, just about where you said, 25 minutes left to go. And as he's made friends with the entry pit speed limit cone, I think the team will pull that off.
Meanwhile, up in front, Jason Perry makes a pass on... Well, he's going to fight back. Oh my, maybe we want to go to the lead right now. They almost got together. Perry and Gaspers. A little closer than they wanted.
Is that miscommunication or is that battle actually happening? Now Perry is under threat from Chapman, who's overtaken Noam when we weren't looking.
Well, here's the deal. These drivers don't care where they race until they want to come in for a pit stop. Then they want to be first down pit lane because that's where you can save some time.
All right, well, let's see if any of them decides to duck off early. One of the favorite things of Aeronome is if he's in this pack to peel away if he feels like he's saved enough fuel and then rip off some fast laps by himself in the mid-pack.
Aeronome will either want to be, when it's time to pit, either want to be first or last.
Let's stay with this group to see what they do when they come around to the pit entry up to Stavilo. I think in the case of Aeronome, it's I'm doing whatever you're not doing.
Yep. The deal is, I don't know if Num, even though he's really talented, I don't know if he can be faster by himself than 3 cars working together, right? Well, 2 cars. You know what'll happen? Chapman and Num they'll get this figured out. They'll come in together.
Well, and we saw Gaspers very fast, even though he had the slipstream. I don't know if he can get by him. They're going to go too wide into Blanchimont. Are we trying for track position before the pit stops here, potentially? It's gotten a lot more spicy. Wow,
sure
Gaspers with a wild move, diving to the outside of Jason Perry into the bus stop. That's going to give him the inside of the second apex. If he can get the power down, he'll carry the momentum, and he sneaks back into first.
Yeah, getting a little bit more intense up there right now.
All right, one more corner, then we got the pit entry. See who bites. Ooh, bad corner for Jason Perry. Is he maybe setting himself up to pit? I'd say yes.
There it is. But he's all by himself. Get our director to sing a little Eric Carmen right now. If you're familiar with that song, I think Perry's going to be in trouble.
We don't need his singing.
Oh, fortunately,
I know he's a musician.
The director's
but
off
we don't,
mic. Yeah.
Got a little bit of help from the peanut gallery saying that Chapman was, in fact, trying to just maybe stay out of the slipstream so he doesn't have to lift. I would think that it would be better to stay in the slipstream so you could lift to save fuel, though. But I'm not in the car. This is why I'm a commentator and not a pro driver, Bill.
You're a pro commentator, though, Joe, in my book.
Thank you. Making me blush. Perry is done with his pit stop. Where does he return to the track? He's in 13th, and I think he's going to stay in 13th, although Almiral has a full head of steam. He might wind up in 14th.
Got another driver now that might get in the picture. We haven't talked about him in fourth now. Jerry McAreevy. He's fast. He's at second in the points. He's only 1.5 seconds plus a notch behind Chapman.
McAreevy, you can see running the same paint scheme as Doherty, rocking that tartan proudly. No, those Scots are not afraid to show that off.
Another option that McAreevy has is he can pit with these guys and short fill and come out right behind him and then save, try to make up for, he may not take enough fuel to get to the end, but maybe he can nurse it around if he gets in the tow.
Absolutely. Do you think they make fireproof kilts over there, Bill? These guys could run?
I don't know how effective it would be.
Certainly want the wind getting in the car, I guess.
No.
So as we watch our leaders come around, they've lost Jason Perry. Is anybody else going to follow his suit in pit this time? As Gnome gets up to the back of Gaspers, he's going to challenge him down into the bus stop. Gaspers a little bit better on the brakes. I think that was Gnome just conceding that he has the inside.
But that's not the fastest way through that, and that's good for McAreevy. They're going to horseplay through the bus stop. That's going to slow down their lap time.
Absolutely. He's got an opportunity. 1.6, he might just about be getting a whiff of that slipstream now. Leaders around La Source, down the hill. Doesn't look like any takers. Oh, as I say that, there goes Gaspers. The last second, Gnome decides not to.
McAreevy's going to come in now.
And I think this is a smart move from McAreevy. A quick pit stop could put him within the slipstream.
It's the last race of the season. Just as soon as you see Gaspers go, you go. Now, Jason Perry is through the bus stop, heading down towards La Source. Why do we care about Jason Perry? Well, he was racing with these guys before the pit stop. He came in first. I got a hunch he's going to find himself out of the mix here.
I don't know. We'll see. Like you said, he doesn't have the slipstream of the other cars.
Gaspers rolling.
Going to be tough to tell because you get a lot of speed coming up Eau Rouge. These cars very slow out of the pit lane, climbing up that steep hill with not a lot of grunt. McAreevy follows him out. Brad Taylor is going to go on by. That'll give McAreevy a bit of a slipstream. Yeah. Where's Perry? Oh, he's way back. There you see the Spider-Man car.
McAreevy coming out behind Taylor. That might be the best thing that could have happened to him. He's way back, though. He lost a lot of time to Gasper, but at least he can use Taylor as a stepping stone, assuming he can get around him here through this technical section.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not catching him in a good place, though,
Yeah.
because he's going to be slower, and he knows it.
Look
He
at that.
lets him through.
Hey, Brad Taylor, nice work there.
So we're waiting now on a number of cars to take their stops. We're getting to the end of that pit window. Chapman, Nome, Sadro, Murakami, Doherty, Godin, and Cravo are our top drivers yet to pit, and then Telmo Almiral, the only other one in the field, and I guess Brad Taylor as well, yet to take their official stop. Here we see our two leaders. Go ahead, Bill.
The pit stop times were almost identical between Gasper and McAreeve, but it sure doesn't show in the track position, as he lost the interval from Gasper to McAreeve now 2.6 seconds.
Could be that in and out. And as well, these cars do not have pit limiters. So it's how close do you dare get to that pit speed limit?
Well, now you got Bushfink in first, Bushfink in second.
Familiar sight.
Yeah. They got nobody in front of them, so they'll just run as long as they can. These guys were never out in front the first part of the race, so you would think they can probably go a little bit farther.
I have to assume that they're going to come in, and yes, it looks like, nope, going to stay out. But a bit deceptive with that little bit of a curve down to the pit entry. Can never tell.
Yep.
So behind them, looks like Sadro's going to stay out. Murakami's going to stay out. Doherty, however, comes in.
That little battle has settled down a bit. In fact, a lot of the 2 and 3 car battles that we were watching earlier have spread out a bit. Let's go back to 13th. This is fun, since things are settling. This is Steven Elson, Mr. Disappointment. He's ahead of Bob Kern, Wayne Palmer, Stevie Ray, and here comes Zachary Rivard. A lot of these guys with the different agendas, a lot of faster cars that have had issues here.
I know you've got a lot of nicknames, but I'm not sure that Elson's going to like being called Mr.
Like
Disappointment on that one.
That one came from the heart.
Wow. A lot of cars in a train here. They are trying to catch Elson, and if they're not careful, they're going to drop off, and it'll be 4 cars. Into Eau Rouge they go. Up and over the hill, foot planted to the firewall. Bob Kern has Wayne Palmer with a steady run behind him, and I think Palmer's going to duck to the outside.
Who knows how this is going to play out? Rivard back there in last. He may be first. It's going to be 3 wide. That's what's going to happen.
That's Stevie Ray sneaking up the inside of both of them. I think it's going to be a 2-for-1 deal if he's good on the brakes. He is. He makes the first apex behind them. Rivard, a little bit loose coming into the corner. That means he's not going to get anybody. He'll stay back there in 15th.
I think Rivard would have had them all if the track was wide enough. There's just nowhere to put that blue machine.
Still got time. He can be patient. All 4 of those positions ahead of him could come to him yet still.
Those guys have all pitted. They're good to go from here. So they're racing to the checker flag.
Yep, only 6 cars out on track who have yet to take a scheduled stop. They cannot make it to the finish. If you're just joining us, their fuel tanks are not big enough to get to the end as we ride on board with Rivard. Wow, exciting moment there. 2 wide through Puhan. Not often you see that get away with.
Our leaders are just getting up to La Source. We don't need to go there. I'll just let you know if they decide to come in. We can stay on this battle.
Through Stavelo they go as we watch them work their way onto the next fast stretch.
Yep. Oh, look at this. This is interesting. Huh. I didn't think it would be. Chapman comes in. Arrow Num is going to stay out and run one by himself.
So as that happens, we're watching Bob Kern getting a push from Zach Rivard. Should back out of it by the time they hit Blanchemont. Really don't want to push a car through there. Ooh, he stays right on top. He may have actually given him a bump through that corner. Well, that was brave.
Meanwhile, I'll just tell you, Gaspers is around La Source right now. This is going to be a battle for second. Chapman is still, I think Gaspers is going to gobble him up here.
let's watch to see what happens. Gasper's now coming into Eau Rouge.
Yeah, he's long gone. Chapman with a horrible stop. Chapman loses a spot to McAreevy.
Wow.
In fact, something must have gone wrong. Sadro is actually in and out. I'll take a look at Chapman.
Chapman, 27 seconds in the stall.
That feels like...
That's a speeding penalty.
Yeah. Pit stops are about 12 seconds. A penalty is 15. 12 and 15, that's 27.
Hey, you did math right, Bill.
Good. Look, Mom, no hands.
Oh, Elson has a bit of a battle on his hands. 3 wide as Stevie Ray slips on the inside of Telmo Amaral. They're still going to be 2 wide down to Lacombe. And unfortunately, he's going to have to give it up as Elson gets himself into 9th.
Oh, but off in front, that was Doherty.
Oh, what happened there? Was he with anyone?
Just in front of Elson.
Self-spin. You're going to see on the replay. First apex proved to be a little bit too tricky. He thankfully kept it out of the barriers, but man, he lost a chunk of positions with that incident.
It's good to spin and not hit anything, but it's so painful when you got like a train of cars behind you. He lost all those spots.
Yeah, there we saw just caught it a little bit too late. Sometimes you can catch those slides, but not the case for the New Yorker.
There is no battle up in front. Gaspers is he's in second right now. 4 seconds ahead of McAreevy. 4 seconds, who's 4 seconds ahead of Perry, who's 4 seconds ahead of Daniel Sadro, who's about 3 seconds ahead of Chapman. This is where you want to be watching.
Yeah, this is Doherty in a bit of a battle with Almiral and Palmer. And check this out. Francesco has, and just as I was about to say, he's caught them. Can he keep it out of the wall? Yes, he does, but he was right up into that slipstream, and now it's gone through his fingers.
All right. Now, before we go to that replay, I want to go to Gasper so we can, because I think we're going to have a pass for the lead. Num is in. Sorry, Director, I don't mean to step out of my lane here, but I think this is going to be exciting. Num has made his pit stop. Gaspers is now heading to La Source. This could be the race right here.
Num is still stationary, waiting for his pit stop to finish. Wow, it's a fast one, Bill. 10.3. He had to be saving some fuel.
Yeah, he's going to get it here. Gasper is full song, but again, it's so hard to judge. I really can't tell you because maybe we can see them both on screen here at the same time and you can figure it out.
There he is up over the hill. It's going to be kind of tight. I think he'll catch up to him within the draft by the end of the straightaway. Will he?
Look at the numbers start to shrink there. 2.3, 2.2. No, I think Num's up to speed now. He's got about 2 seconds on him.
How does he do that? That is just incredible. Last car is now pitted. Telmo Almiral has come in.
And
so
when
that's
he did it,
he
actually hit pit lane while he was doing it. Did not quite go well for Almiral, but we're all done. No battle up front. It's all spread out.
Well, let's take a chance then, as you said, since it is spread out, to walk ourselves through the field about 5 at a time here. Starting with Iro Num. If you're just joining us, Num did not start on the pole, but he's leading the race now. In fact, I'm not sure that he's led any of the laps of this race until now, but used pit stops as he is wont to do to jump the rest of the field and get himself a healthy lead over David Gaspers, who sits in seconds. He was the one on the pole. He used the slipstream in qualifying to get himself nearly a second gap, but it looks like he's going to have to use everything he can to try and run down his main rival, Nome. Behind them, how about Jerry McAreevy? Been a bit of a quiet race to get himself into this, but he's used pit stops as well to put himself into the podium. Jason Perry been dropping down. Spider-Man is going to have to swing his way forward a little bit if he wants to make some improvement. The 97 sitting in 4th. Daniel Sadro, another one we haven't watched a whole lot, but has got himself into a top 5. Bill?
Alan Chapman was racing up with his teammate Errol Nam for the lead. A speeding penalty in pit lane has relegated him down into 6th position. He's got about 5 seconds before he gets to Chris Murakami, who is in 7th, who has had a good race after an incident early on. He's got about 6 seconds before he gets to Stevie Ray. But this is where we get a little bit of a battle going on. This is Stevie Ray, and now the move by Steven Elson. Elson we saw go off on the grass earlier, so those guys battle for 8th and 9th position. And then we'll leave that one as it looks like Elson has that pass made. We'll go back to finish out your top 10. This is, well, right now it's Zachary Rivard. I can't say how long that's going to be because he's got some friends behind him.
Bob Kern's going to elect not to make the pass into the bus stop, maybe waiting for the run up the Kimmel Straight. Oh, big bobble there from Rivard, coming out of the first apex, but doesn't lose the spot. It was a nice little catch.
Yeah, and this really is going to be where things are going to heat up. This is the best battle there with Elson in 8th, Ray at 9th. They're about a second and a half ahead of Rivard and Kern. I think those two guys are going to get there also.
You can see just ahead of them, another swap of position is Ray and Elson going side by side. Are they going to sort this out before Eau Rouge? Elson's going to lift a little. Steven's got to wonder what could have been. He was up with that front pack, that lead 4, and now just scrambling to stay in the top 10.
Got a good one here. Let's see what type of line Ray takes. He's going to take the defensive line. I think that Elson has enough momentum. He may be able to close this up. Yeah. And sure enough, the pass was made.
Curious to know actually when this was said, but Philippe Chauvin at one point said in François or Francais, please. So wish my French was better, but not sure what he's asking for. Through Rivage they go, down from the highest point on the track, downhill now. Let's take a look at a driver we haven't given much love to this race, who's in a bit of a battle. Back in 17th, Guillermo Crevo with Jeff Cantor have their own little tussle.
Crevo started in 20th, is up 3 spots. Cantor was right behind him, and is still right behind him.
They've been swapping back and forth using the slipstream just like the guys up at the front. And if you think this battle isn't important to these guys, positions all the way down mean something, especially when it is towards the end of the season. Cantor having a bit of trouble, if I could speak today, a bit of trouble with his connection as he's blinking a little bit here and there.
Yeah, he's about to lose a spot. He also has some damage on his right rear, so it looks like he's been into a little bit of a tussle. And Crevo makes the pass.
Damage on his right rear, and there's damage on the right front of Crevo. Bill, I don't have to be Poirot since we're in Belgium here.
Puzzle pieces, huh?
Yeah, little gray cells are working as we got a battle in 10th between Rivard and Kern still. Right now, Rivard is overtaken Kern. Let's see if Kern tries to get it back. No dice for this corner.
They're having fun. The bad news for these guys is they've dropped about a second to Elson and Ray, who battle for 8th.
5 minutes left to go on the clock. That tells me we got about 2 laps left, I believe. Good confirmation there from our director. Should have 2 to go. Gaspers has actually closed it, Bill. It's now 1.6 between Noam and him.
Well, I don't want to be the guy in the tinfoil hat with conspiracy theories, but Num's
You're
pit
always
stop
the guy in the tinfoil hat, Bill.
Num's stop was really, really fast. Yes, maybe he saved fuel, but maybe he's still saving fuel.
I'm not sure that it's saving fuel necessarily. That the number 21 I think he's got the legs. I remember he was, even before he had that excellent slipstream lap in qualifying, he still had about 4/10 over Noam.
Num stopped 10.5 seconds. Gasper's 14.4. So certainly Gasper's have enough fuel. But Joe may be right. This may be a case of Gasper. He's our pole sitter after all.
And it's down to 1.2 now.
Yeah, it's a confident pole as well.
I think we should stick with this to the end because this is a battle for the lead, and they're going to get the white flag this time by the clock ticking down. Final round if you're just joining us here in Belgium at Spa-Francorchamps. It's the Weekend Warriors. I saw a little bit of blink on my screen for David Gaspers. That's not good. It's now down to 1 second. It's going to be a one-lap fight for the checkered flag.
I'll tell you right now who's happy where the start-finish line is, and that's Gaspers, because Gaspers is going to need every inch of real estate to get to Num and then make the pass.
Coming up to the bus stop, down to 0.8 seconds. He is well within the draft now. It is going to be a fight down the Kimmel Straight. What does Gaspers do? Does he wait until here, next lap, at the bus stop to make the move, just to keep himself covered off from Ironam? Or does he try it early? Bill, put yourself in the driver's seat. Which position do you want to be in?
I just don't see any point to getting around him. The question is, when do you want to do it into the bus stop and then play defense? That's what I would do. Play defense through La Source and try to hold off. So I see the pass being made out of Blanchemont. Let's see if Gaspers just follows him around here. So plus, if Num's saving fuel, then there's no reason to help.
So you'd wait on the Kimmel here?
Yeah, I would wait. I mean,
Gaspers disagrees. He's going for it now.
Yeah. This is great. This is great. These are two guys. They're fast. They like to race. The championship is locked in. This will be fun.
The speed that I know that Gaspers has, I think I'm going to go with what Gaspers decides here. No offense, Bill. So we ride on board with Gnome. He's going to look around the outside, coming up to Lacombe. Who's deeper on the brakes? For now, it's the German.
You know what? I really should have taken personality into account when I made that comment of where I want to be. Where I would want to be and where David Gaspers wants to be are two different things. He is way more confident. Gaspers loves to be out in front and defend. So I'm not surprised, really, when I think about the personalities involved, how this is playing out.
Well, to be fair, I asked what you would do. So
okay.
So you answered correctly, I think, as David Gaspers continues to hold ahead of Ironam. We know that Nam, despite having the championship, he's going to want to take another win. He loves to just sweep the field whenever he can down through Puhan. Now is not the time when he has the best opportunity. It's going to be out of Stavelo and Curva Paul Frere into Fagnes, holding station behind in the tire tracks.
And talking personalities, these are two of the most competitive drivers and two of the nicest drivers you ever want to race with. Back to you, Joe.
Yeah, both of them very, very clean. Sad to see Gaspers wasn't able to finish out in the Lotus 49 World Cup. He came in swinging out there and gave some of the top runners a run for their money. Here we go. The slipstream now starting to kick in as a hole in the air opens up ahead of Ironam. They speed towards Blanchemont. They've got two braking events to go. One in the bus stop, one in La Source. Gaspers tries to cover off the inside of Blanchemont. This is going to force Ironam to go the long way around, but it'll give him the inside into the bus stop. Can he carry the speed? Yes, he can. David Gaspers, he's going to have to brake very deep. Ducks back to the outside after getting a whiff of the slipstream. First apex goes to the Ironam. The switchback tries to carry the speed around the outside. That'll give him the inside, but it's covered off into La Source as Ironam is going to have the inside. He's going to have a nose ahead. What can David Gaspers do? It's going to have to be a switchback and over-under, but he breaks deep. He's not going to be able to take the apex. Can he carry the speed? It looks like he might be able to. They almost banged doors. He's got a nose ahead. Which one is it going to go to? I think it's David Gaspers in the end as they come to the line. Wow.
Ironam tried to take the shortest distance as he cut it all the way over, couldn't get there. There are some more battles back in the back. Let's see if we can go back and check in on, here comes Chapman, who's going to be ahead of Sadro for 5th.
We saw McAreevy finished out the podium there. So
Elson gets the best of Ray. We saw that battle.
Rivard is going to best Kern as well. And the teammate to McAreevy, Doherty, beats out Wayne Palmer to get himself 12th.
Let's go to 6 16th, we were looking at this one. This is Cravo and Cantor.
Jeff still blinking here and there. Cravo has the lead at the moment. As long as he's solid off the corner, he covers off the inside anyways. I think Guillerme is going to take that 16th spot. Nicely done by our drivers.
Let's go to 19th. This is a fun battle. This is Brad Taylor trying to get to Edgar Sancinelli. It's a drag race to the finish. Sancinelli in the lead car.
Too little too late. I think he does have a slipstream. It's going to be very close, but side by side across the line. Sancinelli takes it. That's going to complete it for our group. Let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. For the last time this weekend, already the fans are packing up their tents and heading out into the traffic jam to get home. But as they do that, David Gaspers is celebrating because he took the win with Iro Nam behind him, just 5/100ths of a second between them. Jerry McAreevy takes a well-earned third, with Jason Perry unfortunately slipping backwards to get fourth. Alan Chapman also fell a little bit behind. He takes fifth, with Daniel Sadro finishing in P6. Chris Murakami finishes in seventh, with Stephen Elson unfortunately finishing in eighth. Although he still did climb up, he was 12th on the grid. Steve Ray is ninth, and Zachary Rivard finishes in the top 10.
You know, all these drivers back here put on a good show and really merited a whole broadcast of themselves. We did the best to cover them. Bob Kern gets 11th position inside of Edward Doherty. Wayne Palmer right behind him. 14th went to the French driver Fred Desai inside of Paul Godin. All ribbons and curls for the Portuguese entry of Guilherme Cravo. 17th went to Jeff Cantor. Francisco Bernardo from Italy comes home in 18th position, just ahead of Edgar Sancinelli and Brad Taylor. And a final 4 in the blackjack position, Telmo Amaral, Ross Nicholson, Adam Bradshaw, and Felipe Chavin.
We have our winner waiting to talk to us. David Gaspers has stepped down from the podium to tell us about how his race went. He started from pole, he finished in first, but boy, he had to work to try and get back up there after the pit stops as we bring David over. Try to get him away from the bottle of champagne. There we go. As David comes up to the mic now. David, it looked like you had things under control for most of the race. You had a phenomenal lap time in qualifying, nearly a second ahead of Noam, and then he jumped you in the pits. Did you expect that to happen with the way he operates?
Yeah, I was expecting it. Before the race started, Jason and I decided to go for a fun race instead of only going for fuel saving and for the strategy. But since Aero stayed behind us so much, we decided to pit a little earlier so he wouldn't be able to save fuel behind us. But somehow Jason really messed up his pit stop.
Yeah, we saw that. He unfortunately was not able to stick with you in the end. Now, when you ran down Eero Nam, do you think that was Eero trying to fuel save a little bit, or was that just straight pace that you gunned him down?
If you mean after the pit stop, I don't think he was saving fuel there. It wouldn't really make sense to me.
Well, that is incredible then that you were able to outrun him and then take it at the end. Now, talk about that last corner pass going around the outside to try and carry the momentum. Did you think did you know that could work, or was that just a Hail Mary?
Yeah, I was pretty sure it would work. I did the same move to Jason earlier in the race, and I've done a lot of races in this car track combination in the past, so I've done it a couple of times in the past and was hoping for the best this time.
Well, I'm sad that we didn't get to see you for the rest of the Lotus 49, but congratulations on taking a final round win here in the SRF, and good luck in next season.
Yeah, thank you.
That was David Gaspers, winner here today at Spa-Francorchamps. Next up, second place finisher, just 5 100ths behind. Bill has caught up with Eero Nam.
Eero, congratulations on the championship and second place today. I have so many questions, so let me get right to it. First of all, why didn't you come in with your teammate when Chapman came in early? You stayed out there a few laps.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't come is maybe he messes up the pit entry. So it was made more sense to make one more lap.
Got it. Okay, now your pit stop was so fast. Did you take enough fuel because Gaspers was able to run you down? Was that just pace, or did you have to save at the end to get to the end?
I took a little bit too much, but at the end, it was so close. 2 seconds, I think, is the draft. So you only had to gain a little bit to get in the draft. And I don't know, I didn't want to get any off tracks. So
okay, let's go to the last lap. And Joe asked me, where do you want to be? And I think, well, I think I want to make the pass going into the bus stop and then defend. Did you know that the pass on the outside through La Source there on that very last corner, that was something that Gaspers might be able to do?
Yeah, I was trying to do something about it, but well, yeah, I didn't want to mess his line up too much, so I gave him room, and yeah, it was close, but yeah.
Did you actually touch out of La Source or not?
Yeah, it was a little touch, yeah.
Little bang to slow down the momentum didn't help, and then you tried to take the shortest distance to the line, but he beat you there. Eero, it is always fun to watch a race. The series are all ending up now. MX5 World Tour is done, and Absolute Beginner is done. This one is done. Where are we going to see you on a GSRC broadcast next? Do you know? Are you coming back to this one?
I think I will come back. I'm not sure about MX5s.
Okay.
I have little bad feelings about last season, so I'm not decided that.
Understood. How about, have you ever been in a Lotus 49?
Not really.
Yeah, come on over. Come on over.
Planting the seed there. We'd love to see you over there. Hey, congratulations wherever you show up. It's always fun to watch a race, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You're on. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, we have our third place finish. We got the whole podium in. Jerry McAreevy has joined us. And Jerry, you made the biggest climb of the podium from 8th to 3rd. How did you manage to get up there? Was it just the pit stops? Was it raw pace? You kind of snuck in when we weren't looking.
Hey, Joe. Hey, guys. I just get lucky. I think it was on the first lap. There was a wee accident and I managed to avoid it and just get through. So, yeah, it was all good after that. Pretty boring, really.
Yeah, and I take it that you're going to be back again next season since you're a regular in this car. With the schedule already being out, which track are you most looking forward to?
Quite like Bathurst. That's usually my favourite.
So I know you guys have a few tracks over there in the UK that, over in Scotland that we could still use. So if you could get a track on iRacing from your local scene, which one would you most like?
I think it's got to be Knockhill for that one, Joe.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was the answer that was coming there. Well, we're glad to see you be able to finish on a good note. You going to get any more cars on your team putting the tartan on there? I have to say I'm a fan of that paint scheme.
Who knows? I know Edward likes to run it, so we'll see. But no, thanks again, guys. It's been a great season. Thanks to Steve. Congratulations to David. And I'll catch you all next season.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming and talking to us, and congratulations. That was Jerry McAreevy, 3rd place finisher. Real quick, we've got Bill with Steve Ray, our league organizer.
Stevie, 2 questions. We'll start first with the race, then we'll close up with the health of the series. First of all, great qualifying in 5th. Didn't quite finish that well, but man, you put on a show. You had some fun racing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You must have been looking at the other Steve, because I was back in like 14th to start, I think. So, but yeah, it's a little rough time getting through the first lap, but the rest of the race ended up being a lot of fun.
You're right. I cross-referenced there my qualifying chart. Yeah, 14th to 9th. That's a good run. Put on a good show. A lot of good fighting here at Spa. It's a fun combination between Spa and the SRFs.
Yeah, it works out pretty good. A lot of guys like it. Some don't, because it's so much draft here you can't break away. But a little technical, a lot of draft. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Are you happy with the way the season played out? And I thought it was a pretty exciting championship with Num coming in late, and the health of the series doing well. Yeah,
we're really excited. The season did really well for a summer league, I think, and we're just building for next season. Some exciting changes coming up. As you guys know, you're going to be broadcasting every week next season. We've got a sponsor coming on board. We got some exciting changes coming, so really looking forward to it. And I just wanted to take a quick minute and thank everybody that makes this league what it is. It's the guys out there doing it week after week, and it's just a really good group of guys.
Absolutely. Puts on some great racing, and that is some exciting news that you just gave us. Man, oh man, that's wonderful. Well, good luck to you the rest of the way, and we can't wait to get going for the next season.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. As always, you guys are the best.
Thanks for the compliment. Stevie Ray, 9th place finisher today.
That's going to close it up. We are going to thank a few people before we go. Of course, a big thanks to Steve Ray himself for organizing this series and bringing it back to GSRC season after season. Glad to be able to cover the full season next season. That'll be fun. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Ram. The next race for this series is actually the big grid race, so make sure and watch that September 9th. That'll be at 7:45 p.m. GMT, 3:45 p.m. Eastern at Road Atlanta for this time. I like when they go to that one because it provides a good challenge for these cars. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.